Everybody, and welcome to another one of our Modern Athlete live sessions. My name is Sean Falconer, the editor of the magazine, and tonight I've got these, what should I call them? Orange flyers to talk about. This is the Under Armour Infinity 4. It's actually the Under Armour HOVR Infinity 4, and I've taken these for a run and had a bit of fun in them and just put them through their paces to get you to know them a bit better. So now I'm going to share a bit of my notes with you, what I've found. First things first, whenever it comes to doing a shoe review, one has to keep in mind that there is no such thing as a bad shoe. There's the right shoe for you versus the right shoe for me. And so reviews are all about telling you what a shoe has, what its features are, what it can do, and who it's sort of better aimed for or better suited to. And so, yeah, without further ado, that's the disclaimer that you have to put in front of any kind of gear review. So here we go. Under Armour released their HOVR range of midsole foam in 2018, if my memory serves. And it's been quite popular on the market. Under Armour shoes are a growing, how should we put this? Their popularity is growing, and I've had the opportunity to run in several of their shoes. I'm going to tell you about another one of the shoes briefly in a second when I compare something about the outsole with the shoes. But for now, focusing on the Infinity 4. First things first is that this is targeted at the neutral runner, and it's a very, very light shoe. When you hold it in your hand, it's feather light. So if you're looking for a lightweight neutral, this shoe will tick that box. But it is a firmer shoe. It's not as flexible, it's not as soft on the ground, and it's not as cushy as some of the other shoes I've had the privilege of testing. Again, I stress, that doesn't make it a bad thing. It means the shoe is perhaps suited for different types of runner. Now, I'm a fairly light runner. I'm also a 4-foot striker. And I don't really need as much heel cushioning, and this is what I often say in the reviews I write about the shoes that I test. This shoe does have a fairly substantial heel section in terms of cushioning, and but at the same time, it's a conventional 8mm drop from heel to 4-foot, so pretty standard stuff. Decent cushioning in the back, running through into the 4-foot, and if you're looking for that kind of cushioning, especially the cushy feel, you might find the shoe a little bit too firm for your taste. But that said, some people prefer a slightly firmer midsole, and especially if they're running longer distances, they might want that extra firmness at some part of their run. The thing to keep in mind here is that what Under Armour have done is the black section of the midsole here is the HOVR foam, and then there's a slightly denser, firmer layer of foam rubber just above it here. This is the red line I'm pointing at the moment. That is a slightly firmer rubber that also forms a cradle, which your foot then sits into, and it holds the foot stable and steady. The HOVR foam is the main cushioning mechanism on the shoe, and so that's where your shock absorption will come from. What's very noticeable on the shoe is the outsole. You've got carbon rubber lugs on the outside here. You'll see how thick that layer is if I hold it up to the camera. It's a substantial amount of rubber, and it runs into the heel as well. You've got your high abrasion rubber at the back here and more pads across the midfoot. This shoe gives unbelievable grip. It's not a trail shoe, but I'm telling you, if you rub your hand across the outsole, you actually think like, wow, this actually could do a job on trail. It also has pretty substantial flex grooves across the whole 4-foot. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flex grooves, plus of course the midfoot cutaway section here. Now that would normally give you an exceptionally flexible shoe. This shoe is not all that flexible because of the cradle of firmer rubber here, plus the HOVR being fairly firm. So it's not the most flexible shoe that you're going to find on the market, but it is still a well-flexed shoe. And of course, when you do that whole toe off on the ground, you're going to get that whole lacquer feeling of being pushed forward. Now, if you look inside the shoe, you'll see it's got a sock liner, good old traditional sock liner, like most shoes come with these days. That's, of course, extra foam rubber for cushioning. And the footbed of the shoe, you'll see this blue colored foam here is another layer of extra foam cushioning, which again adds to the more cushioned ride. So you're getting a lot of cushioning on the shoe, even though it feels firmer than some of the other shoes you may run in or may have run in. Again, I stress this as a point of interest because it means the shoe feels firm. It doesn't mean it's a rock and you're not getting any cushioning. It just has a firmer feel. And again, some runners prefer that. So this is one of those shoes where you go and test it and you work it out for yourself whether you like that or not. The upper is just brilliant. First things first, I mean, look at this color. This is an eye-catching shoe. There's not a chance that you're not going to be seen in low light conditions if you run in the early mornings or in the early evenings. And even if you do, there's some reflective detailing here on the back, and of course the logo of Under Armour here also has a bit of reflectivity in it. So these really do stand out. Even the sole will make you visible. The mesh upper is exceptionally well ventilated. You're not going to be able to see in this particular lighting and from this angle, but I mean, if I actually hold the shoe up, I can see into it and through it in different places because the perforations in the mesh are throughout. And what I found when I ran in these was that there was no overheating of the shoes, of my feet, sorry. Interestingly enough, that was in spite of the fact that this is a very well padded shoe. Around the heel collar here, you've got a lot of extra padding. Now, if you have a sensitive Achilles that gets rubbed up the wrong way by shoes sometimes, this is great. The padding runs around the top of the lip here all the way. And then, of course, the tongue is also really nicely padded. I've run in a few shoes over the years where the pad was exceptionally minimalist and it was a harder rubber and it actually dug into the top of my feet. Whereas this is just lovely and padded, super comfortable. If you have wider feet, I think that the extra padding really grips your foot nicely. If you have narrower feet, it's debatable whether you will get as tight a fit on the shoes. And once again, it comes down to different strokes for different folks, different shoes for different feet. So you need to test them out and go and see how you like them. The one thing that I really, really like, on the collar, I'm going to point them out here. You'll see there's two little white eyelets, lacing eyelets on the tongue. And the laces go through either side. Now, over the years, a lot of shoe manufacturers have put a single eyelet in the middle of the tongue. So the laces go I, through the middle of the tongue, I. And it's great because it means that the tongue stays in place, doesn't roll around while you're running, and sometimes you can find the tongue hanging off to one side. I find that the single eye still allows the tongue to move, whereas these two eyelets, each on a different lace, really cinch the tongue into place brilliantly, and it did not move in my run. So I really, really like that. The rest of the lacing system, pretty conventional, eyes up and down the sides. I found that the lacing system cinched down nicely. The shoe gripped my foot. And of course, because it's a single one-piece mesh upper, it's really comfortable. Good old sock-like fit. But at the same time, the toe box is roomy. If you've got wider feet, which I do, hence I wear an 8.5, I really enjoyed this. A side note on that is that what a lot of people don't know is that in shoe sizes, the 8 and the 8.5 are the same length, but the 8.5 has extra width in the forefoot area. So if a size 8 is too tight for you, but the length is right, you go for an 8.5, hence half sizing. I'm also, I have to say, very lucky because a lot of shoe manufacturers use the 8.5 UK size as a standard sample size, which means I'm sample size, and that makes my life as a shoe reviewer very, very easy. A lot of shoe manufacturers say like, oh, thank goodness we don't have to go look for a pair for you in the storeroom because we've got the samples and we've got them right here. We can send them to you. But that's just a little side note. Let's get back to the shoe. Another feature of Under Armour shoes, which are brilliant, is the fact that they actually have a microchip embedded into one of the shoes of each pair. And this can sync with your, on your phone if you download the app Map My Run. And in this day and age, a lot of runners love having technology which measures your pace, your route, your distance, cadence, stride length, and all that kind of stuff. And Map My Run does that. So the fact that your shoes are actually recording not just where you ran like a GPS on a watch, but in terms of stride length, because of course, every time your foot hits the ground, your stride length and your cadence are measured. Your watch is unlikely to do that unless it has a really, really fancy setting. But a lot of the GPS watches these days don't come with that setting. So the shoes give you that extra bit of technology and feedback on your run. You can also get coaching advice via the Map My Run app. So that's another thing that I really love about the Under Armour shoes. Getting back to the look of the shoe, just I forgot to mention just now, you've got some extra mesh here wrapped around the midsole, which is one of the Under Armour design features, just to add a bit more structure to the shoe. And of course, you've also got the mesh sections here in the upper. You'll see it here. If I rub my finger over it, you can hear it. And there's another one at the forefoot here. These are what we call overlays. Usually made of some kind of a plastic material or a rubber material, which are designed to give the upper of the shoe more structure. And that's especially on flex zones, or where a foot might push the upper slightly out, depending on the angle you're running at, shape of your foot, speed you're running, and things like that. So there's minimal overlays in this particular design. It's got a bit of a toe cap running up the front here from the outsole, just to give you that protection on the toes. Overlay on the front here and a little bit on the side. And of course, you've got a heel counter. For those of you not familiar with the term, a heel counter is the cup that's built inside all of the upper material here that literally hugs the back of the heel and the Achilles. And in this day and age, some of the shoe manufacturers are trying different things. Some are doing what they call split heel counters, or decoupled, or whatever the case might be, where they actually have a sort of a cutaway section in the middle, so that your Achilles doesn't have as much pressure against the back. This one is a conventional full rounded cup, and I found it absolutely brilliant, absolutely comfortable, hugged my foot nicely. The padding around the collar really gripped my Achilles comfortably, and just everything about the upper was comfortable and fun to use. So now in terms of the ride, I did a mid-distance run of somewhere between 5 and 6 Ks. And sorry, I haven't had a chance to look at my stats yet to work out what the exact distance was, but that doesn't matter. The point is, I put a couple of Ks on the shoe. First of all, disclaimer, full disclosure, is that I am coming back from a second bout of COVID, so I'm not running long distances at the moment anyway. Most of my runs are about 5-6 kilometers, just as I start getting back into it. So I took the shoe out, and I found it a little bit too firm for my taste. But I also think that's because I'm a lighter runner. I think a heavier runner than me will benefit from that firmness, because you have all that great cushioning thanks to the HOVR foam, but you have the slightly firmer feel where you don't feel like you're sinking into your shoes, which a lot of bigger runners, who obviously are putting more weight on the same type of shoe that I might be running in, they tend to sink in a bit. So I'm by no means saying that no light runners can use the shoe. I'm by no means saying that only heavier runners can use it. Again, I go back to what I said right at the start about the fact that it's different strokes for different folks. And if that's what you like, this shoe is highly recommended for you. One of the design features is that Under Armour have literally flipped the 2 layers of foam rubber. So the HOVR is now underneath the cradle of slightly firmer rubber here. In the previous design, it was the other way around. And that gave you a slightly more cushioned feeling on the top, but more structure underneath. I actually prefer this way around, because this cradle that your foot kind of sits in between, grips the shoe, your foot nicely, and rounds off the package of the shoe. So kudos to Under Armour for that move. I think that's quite nice. Colors that it comes in. This is what you and I would probably call orange, but in the trade it's known as bolt red. I kid you not. There's also a bright yellow version and a black version. And if you can see them on the Under Armour website, personally, I love this orange. It's stunning. Yeah, okay. I probably don't have the most conservative taste when it comes to shoes. I admit that. But these puppies just, they do it for me. The yellow ones also look fantastic. And in terms of black running shoes, I mean, over the years, I've grown to like those as well. So yeah, they also look pretty good. The one thing I wanted to mention in terms of comparing it to another shoe, and this goes back to the outsole rubber. Under Armour have another shoe on the market, and this one is called the Velocity Wind 2. Now, what's interesting about this shoe is it doesn't have outsole rubber. The midsole material, the white rubber that you see here, is literally also the outsole. But it's obviously got it's a bit tougher than normal midsole rubber, in order to last longer, but it saves a lot of weight on the outsole. Now, these shoes are super, super, super lightweight, and it's because they've saved the weight on the outsole, but they've had to use a different, more expensive midsole material as a result. The Infinity 4 obviously has a more conventional design with the harder, firmer outsole, protective, high abrasive rubber, high abrasive rubber. So that's to last. And again, I stress that these shoes are designed for high mileage, because this outsole is going to last. It really, really does look like a great package from that description. In terms of pricing, the shoes are available. Let me just click at my notes here. 2,899 Rand, so just under 3,000 Rand. And in this day and age, even though a lot of people are still struggling in terms of finances after the COVID lockdown, 3,000 Rand for a pair of shoes that's going to last you for quite a long time, thanks to its high-wearing outsole, it's a pretty sort of standard price these days. Not too expensive, not too cheap, but sort of in the middle of the range there. So that's for you to decide what your budget can handle. And but a good buy, a good investment, because the shoe will last, will give you good mileage. So worth thinking about. What else do I wanted to say? Under Armour are referring to this as their flagship distance shoe. Some people may want to use it as a trainer and not a racer. That's your decision. Some people buy one pair of shoes and do all their racing and training in the same pair. Depends on what kind of runner you are, what kind of racing you're doing, what kind of distance. It's for you to decide. In that case, it's one of those, there's no right or wrong answer. Okay, so what else do I want to say about the shoe? I think that about covers most of my list of notes. I think this is one of those cases now. Go out there and get it and check it out. Under Armour, let me just think quickly. They were started in the late 1990s, if my memory serves, and initially didn't really go into the running market, but around about 2006, they ventured into running. And of course, the brand wasn't available in South Africa yet. It only arrived several years later. But in the few short years that Under Armour has been here, they've really made a statement. First of all, their clothing. I'm wearing one of the Under Armour t-shirts right here. Oh, love this shirt. Their clothing has really hit the mark, both with runners, crossfitters, gym goers, other sporting codes, rugby players. I mean, they're sponsoring a whole bunch of Springboks and Stormers and things like that. So they've really done well from that perspective. Of course, Tatiana Schoonmaker is also sponsored by them. So their clothing has made a big statement. The shoes. It's always difficult for a new brand to break into the market in South Africa, especially when you're coming in new and other brands have been around for a long time. And from what I've seen, Under Armour is doing a really, really good job of starting to make a name for themselves in what is a really short time by South African running market standards. I've had the privilege of running in several of their shoes. I've really enjoyed them. This one also, very enjoyable ride. Firmer, but enjoyable. And yeah, up to you now to go and check them out. You can find out more at the website it's www.underarmour.co.za. The pricing is there. You can order the shoes there. You can see the different colors. You can read all about the tech and everything. So it's up to you. Check them out. And we'll be seeing you shortly again here on Modern Athlete Live for more shoe reviews and more fun activities. Until then, my name's Sean Falconer. Thanks for joining us. Check you later.